So Larry, I think we're ready when you're ready.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and call to order the meeting for Wednesday, January 27th, the Planning Commission / Subdivision Committee regular meeting, January 27th, 2021. We had a roll call, please.
Chair Andre.
Here.
Vice Chair Gross.
Here.
Commissioner Quilty.
Here.
Commissioner DeBolt.
Here.
Commissioner Lowe.
Here.
Commissioner Riley. Absent. And Commissioner Stolfo-Kanik.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, can we go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance? Have everybody stand, and hopefully there's a flag somewhere. There it is. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the food.
Excellent.
Food.
So it looks like at this time we have a presentation, the active transportation plan. I'm just curious, and I don't know if we can even do this, but I'm wondering if we actually handle that after the other item that we have to address with the CUP. Do we leave it in this order? They would then have to stay through that, I guess.
That is the order on the agenda, but Chair Andre, you and the commission can, of course, alter it at any time you wish.
Guys, you think I looked through the presentation and it looked like it might be kind of long. Are you guys good with maybe handling that first?
I'm okay with changing it around, have the CUP first if you want.
Does anybody oppose?
Whatever, it doesn't matter to me.
I'm just thinking that way they don't have to stay on for close to an hour for that.
I'm okay with doing that. I got no objection to moving it up.
Okay. Is anybody opposed to it?
No.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do that then. I guess the only thing, and Ron, I guess I need to lean on you for this. The other items that are in front of that, I know there's an approval of minutes and a planning commission reorganization. Should we do that first?
I would suggest we do the approval of minutes first, and then we can always do the reorg afterwards. Yeah. If I'm wrong, Michael.
If I could, I would recommend you do the reorg before the public hearing, just so we have the newly seated chair and vice chair in place to act on that item.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. So let's go ahead then and we'll just skip over, if you don't mind, then we'll skip over the presentation for just a moment. We'll go to oral communications. I think, do we have any at this time?
We did.
Other than what was provided by the letters?
Yes, so we did receive 22 public comments for agenda item 9A.
Okay.
And then we will have 2 speakers for that item as well later on.
Okay, so we'll address that in the public hearing portion of it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then at this point, then we can go to item 6, which is the Planning Commission reorganization. And it's recommended that we actually nominate and elect a chair and a vice chair for the new year. So do we have any nominations at this time?
Nominate Vice Chair Gross. She is the vice chair right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, and I'll nominate her for chair.
For chair, okay.
I'll second.
Perfect. Do we want a roll call on that then for chair, please?
Commissioner Andre.
Aye.
Commissioner Gross.
Thank you.
Commissioner Quilty.
Aye.
Commissioner DeBolt.
Aye.
Commissioner Lowe.
Aye.
Commissioner Riley. Absent. And Commissioner Stolfo-Kanik.
Aye.
Perfect. Congratulations, Chair Gross.
Thank you.
Excellent. And do we this time have a nomination for vice chair?
I nominate Art DeBolt.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Oh, hold on. Chair Gross,
Aye.
Commissioner Andre,
Aye.
Commissioner Colty,
Aye.
Commissioner DeBolt,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowe,
Aye.
Commissioner Riley, absent, and Commissioner Slofokanic.
Aye.
All right, congratulations, Vice Chair DeBolt.
Great. So I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be the chair for the last 12 months, although it was fairly interesting with the whole Zoom thing, but hopefully we can get back to some normalcy soon. And anyway, yeah, thanks again. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I think we can turn it over then to Chair Gross to handle the rest of the meeting, correct?
Correct.
Perfect.
Thank you for the vote of confidence. I move to have an approval for the special meeting on November 18th, 2020.
I'll second.
Do I have it?
Sorry, who second?
Art, second.
All those in favor? All right, let's do a roll call. That'll be easier.
Chair Gross,
Approve?
Vice Chair DeBolt,
Aye.
Commissioner Andre,
Aye.
Commissioner Colty,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowe,
Aye.
Commissioner Riley, absent, and Commissioner Slofokanic.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay, the consent calendar, we don't have anything, so we'll move on to public hearing. Can we get a report on this, please?
That's me, Madam Chair. Chair Gross and members of the Planning Commission, CUP is 220-04 is a consideration of a conditional use permit for alcohol sales off-site consumption at 10680 Los Alamitos Boulevard in the general commercial zone. And the applicant is with us on the Zoom call or on, on Zoom. And he can be called upon later on if you would like to ask questions. The 1,180 square foot tenant space is a unit in the Center Plaza shopping center. And the applicant has not owned another liquor store, but he has managed bars and was in the hospitality industry for 13 years. His approach for this business is to bring that experience to the space and create a hybrid hospitality retail store. And in addition to the CUP, the applicant will also be required to obtain a Type 21 off-sale general liquor license from the California ABC, which is the Alcohol Beverage Control, which they've applied for already, and that's in your packet, I think. The ABC folks do not process the license until the Planning Commission approves or denies the CUP for the location. The applicant plans for the hours of operation to be from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and from noon to 10 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. The ABC limits sales to the hours aside from that to outside of the hours of 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And he's well within that. On opening, the applicant tells staff that there will be 2 employees working at once. And then after that, as business dictates, they'll change the number of employees. The application tonight is for the off-site sales of alcohol and whether it's appropriate for this location. It does ride with the land, so it stays with this unit, even if this particular business were to close in the future. The findings required include consistency with the plan and the zoning code, compatibility with existing and future land uses in the vicinity, physical suitability of the proposed site, and impacts to the public convenience, interest, health, safety, and general welfare. So those are what you're deciding on. One of the findings required for approval is that the use will not affect the use of a school, park, playground, religious institution, or other place of religious worship. And none of these types of uses are within 500 feet of the parcel. There is, however, another liquor store that's within 500 feet of the parcel. And so the code says the applicant bears the burden of proof that a separation of less than 500 feet from another store that sells alcohol does not create an undue concentration for the sale of alcoholic beverages within the community. The California ABC makes a determination if there's undue concentration. And ABC has mentioned to staff that there may be undue concentration in this what is it called? Census tract. And they usually allow one in the census tract. There are 4 now. They haven't found, though, that's undue concentration yet. But if they do, they will ask for us to complete a letter that's called a finding of public convenience and necessity. And we've done that before, like on the Whole Foods market. We were going to approve that if it came into town. We wrote a letter of finding of convenience, public convenience and necessity. So we've done that on other places before. And as a matter of fact, on the restaurants in the area, there's quite a few restaurants, of course, that sell alcohol. So we've written those letters before, and those are up to the city manager to sign or not. Let's see. As for parking, past parking studies have shown that the shopping center is basically good to go for retail purposes for those kinds of businesses. And so there's no additional parking need for this type of use as a retail use. And staff recommends approving the CUP with the understanding that the applicant must obtain the Type 21 liquor license from the California ABC and comply with all applicable state regulations imposed by the ABC, which are more than what we have. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions that they would like to ask?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
Tom, you mentioned that there were 4 other establishments that sell liquor for off-site consumption.
Correct.
In the census tract. Other than Tubby's, what are the other 3?
There's also 7-Eleven, Does On Me, which just sells wine. It has wine that it sells in the shop. And the 4th one, that has escaped my mind. What is it?
Tubby's? Is that Tubby's?
Yeah, Tubby's. Yeah, there we go.
Well, I said that.
No, but Tubby's.
Tubby's, Does On Me, and the.
And 7-Eleven.
And.
Doesn't mean.
Yeah.
That's 3. Where's the 4th?
I've forgotten what the 4th one is. It's just flown out of my head. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I could find out and get back to you on that.
Well, I mean, I'm just curious.
Restaurant?
No, those are on site. These are for off-site. These are off-site.
Sales. Yeah.
Huh. All right. I mean, I okay. I didn't know Does and Me sold that.
Yeah.
Was it just?
It's the ABC told me there were 4 in this census tract, and this census tract is quite large. So, yeah. So
Is it Bonds?
Which place did you say? Oh, Vaughn's? No, it's not Vaughn's. It's not. The census tract doesn't go down that way. It's up north of Catella, and yeah, I just can't ring. It's not ringing a bell right now.
Is it Rossmore Gourmet? Or is that the other side of Catella?
That's the other side. That's another tract. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Get back to
That's all right. Okay, whatever.
Maybe CVS. CVS sells alcohol, doesn't it?
Yes, that's it.
That's probably okay. All right. Okay. Okay. That's all. That's my only question. Okay.
Does anybody else have a question they'd like to ask? do we know if we do a CUP about any further changes, including smoking, vaping, or anything like that from this particular facility? Do we know what we can do on that to prevent it?
We can add that as a condition to the resolution if you would like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have any more questions of Tom? Okay, do we want to have the applicant go ahead then, and I can open it up for the applicant to present?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you the applicant? Okay, could you, I can't, is he on?
Muted.
Yes, he's on.
Everybody's muted.
It's Roadrunner. Yeah. Matthew, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
okay, perfect. Yes.
Okay, please introduce yourself and then please present your project.
Sure. My name's Matthew Harrison, and thank you for allowing me to go ahead in front of the other item tonight. I thank you for having me here tonight. I've read through the community's complaints, and I'm impressed by their compassion and care for the city, and these values are part of the reason why I want to come to Los Alamitos and excited about the possibility of contributing. I hear and share the community's concerns that adding another liquor store might increase the amount of alcohol consumed on the street and have a negative impact on the area. But I'd like to make a small point. It might seem like a small point, but I'd like to make sure that I'm opening a bottle shop and not a liquor store in the traditional sense. It's a store specializes in rare and unique spirits, wine, and beer. And while they both carry alcohol, that's where the comparison ends. And I'm not going to be selling cigarettes or lottery tickets, nor will I be selling sodas, chips, candy, or anything that might bring a minor into the store. And I will have a policy of no unaccompanied minors on premises. I'm not going to be selling the kind of alcohol that people would drink. The bag. I'm not going to be selling malt liquor, classic vodka. I want my place to be a special place where you buy carefully bottled scotch, recreate cocktails.
Excuse me, I'm having difficulty hearing the applicant. Does anybody else have any problems hearing the applicant?
It's cutting in and
Over
out.
to the speaker.
Can't hear you at all now. Oops.
No?
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I've had 13 years of experience in the managing restaurant bars, building relationships with producers, importers, and I want to bring that unique and special those products to Los Alamitos. And I want to build a community of people, cocktail hobbyists, wine snobs, beer geeks, everyone, and show from a wide area and show them one more thing that Los Alamitos has to offer. I've spent my adult life working in restaurants, and I believe if I was opening a restaurant, the community wouldn't have the same concern about sales to minors or public safety, and because they don't associate restaurants with those concerns. But Roadrunner aspires to be a 5-star craft bottle shop, and I want to give responsible adults delicious things to drink responsibly. And that's what I love doing in my career, and I wanted to bring it to Los Alamitos.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question of the applicant?
Let me see here. No, I don't have any.
I have a quick question. Early, when you were first speaking, you were cutting out a little bit. So I'm assuming what I gathered is this is higher end liquor?
Yes.
Okay.
Higher end, coming from the bar restaurant world, that's kind of my focus of how to recreate those sorts of drinks at home. Give suggestions on I like this, and that sort of idea. A more curated experience.
Okay.
Any further questions?
you're not you're not going to be relying on basically traffic up and down the boulevard if somebody needs to pick up a 6-pack on their way home.
That is not.
They're not going to be finding you.
I would. That's not my aim. If they come in and they want, a nice IPA that's limited edition, or then that's great. I will be able to provide that. But as far as your like kind of macro brews, no, I won't have that.
But my Budweiser and Corona, that's not the spot, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean,
all right.
Any other questions? Okay, can we open it to, sorry, Commissioner Lowe?
You mentioned that your hours, your hours of operation. Kind of issues.
You're breaking up.
Can't hear you there, Gary.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
If you have any issues with your restricted hours, you're going to close at 10 o'clock. If you have any issues with that as far as closing?
We barely can hear you. Everybody's leaning forward.
Okay, hold on.
It was about hours of operation, I believe.
Correct. Correct.
I mean, the thing is, I'm not looking for those late. I mean, I personally don't want to be open later. And when you are, I mean, I know this from working in bars, the later you open, the rowdier the crowd gets. And I mean, I personally don't want to have to deal with that.
Do you have any other Commissioner Lowe, that you want anything else?
No.
Okay, we can hear you.
Good.
No samples, right?
No.
All right.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay, can we open it up for public comment?
Yes. The first one will be Lisa Garcia. Let me go ahead and unmute her. Lisa, can you unmute? There you go. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Here you go. Okay.
Do I go now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lisa Garcia. Thank you for listening to my concerns. My deepest concern is for the children that go to the schools near this establishment that want to sell liquor. We have 3 schools around that area. We have Los Alamitos High, we have Nikoff Middle School, and Oak Middle School. The new establishment is only a few hundred feet from other liquor stores. I've heard there's 3 now, but I thought there was only 2. There's the 7-Eleven, and then there's Tubby's. But no, apparently I guess there's 4. So basically my concern is just for the children that walk back and forth to school, to and from school, that have to go past this establishment, plus the other 3 establishments, so that is 4. And then from listening to Matthew, I guess that's the owner, he was saying that he's only going to have high-end alcohol, but alcohol is alcohol. It doesn't matter whether it's Coors, Corona, or an IPA, but that's my concern. Basically, it's just for the children that will be walking back and forth on those properties, going to and from school all year round. That's all.
All right, thank you. Do we have another person online?
Yes, we do. And that is Rick. Let me go ahead and ask him to unmute. Can you hear us, Rick?
Good evening.
There you go.
All right. Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Rick. I would like to begin by saying that I support Mr. Harrison's efforts to open a new business in this difficult times. I wish him the best of luck on his journey, but I do not support the location that he has chosen due to the close proximity of the site to 3 already licensed establishments, 7-Eleven, Tubby's, CVS. I'm the owner of Tubby's Liquor, located at 10601 Los Alamitos Boulevard. I received a notice from the city of Los Alamitos about the potential new off-site alcohol license 300 feet from my business. Under the Los Alamitos Municipal Ordinance 17.32.070, finding E, it states that the new establishment shall not be materially injurious to the uses in the vicinity. If this alcohol license is issued, my small business would severely be affected. Findings cannot be made for this CUP because the establishment of the liquor store will hurt surrounding businesses such as mine. The Los Alamitos Planning Commission has the responsibility to make sure the uses in its city are successful and needs to support its already established businesses. Due to COVID-19, this past year has already had dire impact on our business. Adding to these increasingly stressful times, allowing more alcohol beverage locations to flood our market would be devastating to our business and to our recovery process. In many cases, someone who proposes to open a bottle shop will have different agenda. A bottle shop is just a fancy word for a liquor store, and they are not limited to selling just high-end products. We already sell high-end products in our store, and there's nothing that Mr. Harrison can get that we can't. So as far as being just a unique or a bottle shop, that really doesn't exist in the liquor business because everyone could get anything they want. I've been in the business for 25 years, and I've been successful throughout my whole career. And like I said, a bottle shop is just a fancy word for a liquor store. That's it, nothing more to that. As a business owner and taxpayer in this wonderful city, my plea to you is to be mindful of the effect your decision may have on my business. Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Thank you. Any other comments that you know of?
That was all that I received.
Okay.
There
we
are
also
those in your packet as well that you've received through emails.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we include that we did receive the emails from several different people regarding the store itself. Okay, so I'm going to close public comment and bring it back up to us for discussion at this time. Do I have anybody that has any questions on this?
I'd like to ask a question of council.
Go ahead.
Michael, what's your can you enlighten us on the application of the code section that the second caller made, whether this falls under injurious?
Oh.
Apologize for the mute button there. So as was outlined in your staff report, there are requisite findings that need to be made by the Planning Commission in order to support a conditional use permit in this instance. Those typically include things like consistency with the general plan, whether the use is allowed under the zoning code, and then the physical suitability of the site as proposed. The gentleman providing public comment reference to a subdivision of the section outlining findings that need to be made that says the measure of site suitability shall be required to ensure that the type, density, and intensity of use being proposed will not adversely affect the public convenience, health, interest, safety, or general welfare, constitute a nuisance, or be materially injurious to improvements, persons, property, or uses in the vicinity and zone in which the property is located. So that's an additional consideration point that the commission must look into when acting on the CUP. Staff has provided draft findings in the resolution that we feel support a finding in the affirmative for this CUP. However, it's ultimately within the discretion of the Planning Commission to consider testimony presented and make a determination as to whether or not you think the applied for use would lead to these negative effects that are referenced in the finding. I will say that with respect to that subheading, that's most typically assessed in terms of physical impacts from a proposed use or activity as compared to some sort of financial or competitive impact on surrounding uses.
Right.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a comment. Oh, just a comment. A comment following Victor's question and the council's answer is that I did not see in that list competition as being necessarily to be considered as injurious to another competitor's business. Competition is the nature of our system. So,
I have another question.
Commissioner.
Madam Chair, can you open the public hearing up? When the applicant was speaking initially, I couldn't hear him, and I think I heard him say something. I want to clarify it.
Okay, let's open the public hearing. Could you speak up for the applicant?
Was it for the second one, Rick?
No, the applicant.
No, the applicant.
Oh, the applicant, sorry.
For Matthew, you had a question?
Yes. I do. I couldn't hear you at the beginning of your presentation. I think I heard you say that you're not going to be selling Cokes and chips and things of that nature, which would tend to be attractive to the younger people. You're just going to sell high-end, I assume, bottled liquor.
That's correct. I mean, yes, there will not be snacks. There's not that. I'm not going to have that convenience store thing. I'm not going to say there will be things like Coke or mixers, but it's not going to be, 20 different sodas. There'll be a few non-alcoholic mixer options like tonic water, things like that.
Okay, thank you. I'm done with the applicant.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a question of the applicant? Okay, I'm going to bring it back up to the commission's closing public comments. Just for myself, I did ask the staff when you received a report to say how much possible police influence this could have on the community. It didn't seem like what I read that there wasn't a large amount of problems with the other stores in our area. Didn't seem to increase police activity for Tubby's, for 7-Eleven, for CVS, or any of those. As far as the schools go,
we lost you.
She froze.
Yeah, Madam Chair, we lost you.
Other ones that were also there. So, and I understand everybody's concern. I understand that we have residents that are really concerned about what their kids are being influenced by. Luckily, this is back a little bit more. It's not on the main drag. You can't see it very easy when you're driving down LaSalle, and you're not going to see it unless you come into the center, to be honest. I think that helps in itself. So if we do approve it tonight, those are things that I'm looking at, is that it's not on the actual boulevard. It is inside a little bit more. It's not in direct vision of everybody. So that has some merit to this. As far as it's up to the council or the commission to whether we approve it or not, I am going to be concerned to make sure that we maybe consider putting in, because CUPs do travel with the property. They don't travel with the applicant, is to not have it where they can ever start doing vaping, cigars, smoking, or things like this down the road. I would hate to see that a CUP went and he moved out and suddenly we have now a vaping store or something else going on. I'm not sure how everybody else feels, but that's kind of what my opinion is. Do I have anybody's comments on that?
I'd like to comment.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Andre.
Yeah, so thank you. So, yeah, a couple of things. I read through all of the emails that came through of people that were concerned. And Chair Gross, I'm in agreement with you. I don't feel that it's an issue for the schools for a couple of reasons. And one of them being it's not really a convenience store. So when people think of a liquor store, they think of a convenience store that has all types of other products to sell besides just the alcohol. This is really a focused venture that, in all honesty, tends to bring a different clientele to the product. It's, you know, this is somebody in Art. I'll use your example. I mean, somebody buying Budweiser and Corona, if there's a connoisseur of, you know, a higher end beer or a higher end wine, they're going to pay for that service. It's not a typical liquor store in my mind, the way that I see it. The other thing is, you know, I guess the ABC needs to determine if the saturation is too dense in that area, and we would find out. He may not even get the spot from them. It might not get the permit in any case. So the hours of operation, obviously, till 10 o'clock. You know, you're not bringing in the late people looking for, you know, alcohol to grab. So I don't know. There's a lot of positive things here, and it's really more of a specialty type shop. Really, if it doesn't work, the public would let him know really quick, and it wouldn't be successful. But I find that there are more and more micro brews and micro brew type businesses that are expanding and being very successful these days with the more limited edition type stuff than your average, like you said, macro brews. So anyway, that's my comment on it.
Chair Gross, if I may, I would like to follow up real quickly for the record and make one clarification. It is our understanding that based on the census tract where this use would be located, it is an area of undue concentration as defined by the ABC regulations. And what that means is you look at the ratio of licenses granted within the census tract versus the total amount of alcohol off-sale licenses granted countywide. And if the ratio is higher within your census tract, for purposes of ABC licensing, that's considered an undue concentration. Now, what that means is that the ABC will ask the city to basically give an all clear letter. Well, as Tom mentioned, there's a public convenience or necessity determination that would be made saying, okay, we understand that this adds 5 off-sale alcohol businesses within our census tract, but the city has made a determination that it's supported by the public convenience or need. And typically, those determinations are made by our city manager pursuant to a city council resolution. And I would expect that that determination will be made consistent with whatever action the planning commission takes. I know that's a long-winded interruption, but I just wanted to be clear that I do believe in this instance, the ABC will look for that determination from the city manager.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments that they would like to make? Commissioner Lowe?
Sure. I just wanted to make a comment is that if we do move forward in the affirmative of this, that we definitely address in the conditions, which you've already mentioned, Chair Gross, about vaping, tobacco, lottery tickets, that we restrict those with conditions, and also the hours of operation. I think it's important to put that 10 o'clock restriction in there as well. That's it.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to. Yeah, I just I share the same comment that Commissioner Lowe said, and I think since it's being represented as I think is something it will be unique, at least to Los Alamitos, if it truly is a quote high-end type of experience, for people coming in. And the idea of eliminating or conditioning out that no vaping, no tobacco, no other goods, no other food products or whatever. I mean, keep it to alcohol and to the mixers, and that's all that's approved there. So that it doesn't become another liquor convenience store. And I think what if it turns out the way it's being represented to us, that this is more of a destination type of a business, and that it's not going to morph into a convenience store at least under him, but I think we need to condition it. So, I mean, really tighten it down so that I think that would then go into that letter, that, yeah, we have maybe a high concentration of sites that sell off-site consumption liquor, but those other sites are all basically convenience stores and sell a whole myriad of other products, and that alcohol, like with CVS, is just a small part of it, but 7-Eleven and Tubby's are more in the line of a convenience store, so that we condition it such that this is limited to alcohol only, basically, and mixers, and as to what is being sold. And I too I noticed in the conditions that the time of operation is not in the condition. It is from 2 p.m. to 10. Okay, and I think that needs to be specified in the conditions, and that's also would run with the property, that the operation time is from 2 p.m. to 10. I mean, that certainly, in my opinion, kind of forecloses out somebody coming in and wanting to run a convenience store from 7 in the morning, until 11 at night. If we bracket it in there, I think we can keep it to this use beyond this applicant. That's my thought.
Do I have any other comments? Do I have a motion to make changes, or?
I would like to go ahead and, if there are no other comments, make a motion to approve the CUP with the conditions that we've discussed. I am in agreement with having the hours put in the CUP from 2 to 10, and that also, ancillary items such as tobacco and lottery tickets, I guess could go in there as well. Vaping supplies cannot, be sold. So I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, can we do a roll call, please?
Do we need to list those items that we were talking about? Should we be more specific?
I think we need to be pretty specific.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's to be limited to alcohol sales, and as he talked about, mixers, I guess in a broad sense, mixers, and but specifically prohibit any other foodstuffs, any other and tobacco products, lottery tickets, other foodstuffs typically found in a convenience store.
That would not prohibit him from selling things like martini glasses or mixed, like, shakers, things like that.
No. Products used to, to me, that would be anything that's necessary for that business, that, for what he's talking about, which is, he kind of laid it out in here about, approve it for the whatever that's called, the accoutrements of that type of a business. And if we just specifically eliminate foodstuffs and tobacco, I think.
And I agree with Art, the hours should be added, because that would definitely limit if he sells it the next person into turning it into a convenience store.
Yeah.
With limited hours.
Michael, do you have any questions on that, or did you get that?
Michael and Tom, I believe we have to come back at next planning commission to have the resolution.
Actually,
no. We could go about it two ways, honestly. We could receive the direction from the planning commission tonight, and staff can move forward and craft conditions that will be appended to your approval consistent with the direction we've received. If you'd like to keep it a little bit closer to your chest, I could recommend that perhaps the planning commission appoint a subcommittee of commission members to work with staff to iron out that language to the satisfaction of the committee members moving forward. If that gives you more assurances that we're hitting the notes that you've asked to be addressed. But I do think we can take action tonight based on the input being provided by the commission as a whole.
Thank you. what's the plans for the commissioners? What would you like to do? Do you want it to move forward, or would you like it to come back?
I don't think we need to appoint a special commission or committee to work with staff. I think staff has heard enough from us tonight about the restrictions, limitations we would like to put on the place, and I think that they could probably operate basically from the minutes of this meeting. But that's just my opinion. You know, if somebody wants to have a subcommittee, I have no objection to it, but I don't know that it's necessary.
I agree with Commissioner Solfocanik.
I do too, and maybe I think staff can also talk to the applicant to find out more of what Commissioner Andre was talking about. You know, like glasses and shakers and whatever else that is in line with what he's proposing. Okay.
I mean, if a store like that is selling wine, I'm assuming they're going to sell wine openers and
right.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. And I think the attorney can come up with the language that covers whatever's, you know, ancillary to that. Is part of that genre of alcohol that he's trying to sell.
Thank you. Do I have a motion then? Or excuse me, do you have any comments, Michael? No.
Nope, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve then?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second again?
I'll second.
All those in favor, can we do a roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Gross.
Aye.
Vice Chair DeBolt.
Aye.
Commissioner Andre.
Aye.
Commissioner Quilty.
Aye.
Commissioner Lowe.
Aye.
Commissioner Riley. Absent. And Commissioner Solfocanik.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Is it possible to make a comment, just in a general comment?
Be my guest.
Okay. I just, want to say to the people that sent in letters and also to the other businesses and the people that called in that I personally appreciate that information back. I definitely read it and took that into account. But, given the current information and really given the parameters that we work in, that's where the decision is. But I do appreciate the community coming forward and giving me that information about how they feel about those things, because that is very helpful. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there.
I agree with you and echo those same words. Thank you very much to all those that did send us letters. We do appreciate it. It just is very challenging at times. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move back to presentation item number 4, the active transportation plan.
Right. I'll just do a really quick introduction. The active transportation plan. The city entered in, and we have our consultants online. I'm going to introduce I'm assuming our lead consultant, Jacob Leon, and he'll introduce his team. But the city has been undergoing this active transportation plan for the past several months. I believe Commissioner Solfocanik was the commissioner chosen to be on the CAC, the Community Advisory Committee. And so they've met, and again, Jacob and his team will go over the details of how many times. And we went out and did community stakeholder meetings, and again, he'll detail how many times about that. But after all the research and everything, this is just a presentation of what their findings were during the past several months. The Planning Commission is the first commission to see this presentation. After this will be next week's Parks, Recreation, Cultural Arts Commission, followed by the Traffic Commission. And then the City Council will ultimately view this presentation as well. And so I'm going to see if Tom has anything else to add, as Tom is the lead project on the city side.
Yes, Jacob and his crew have also been working on a final document that the city council will see. It's still in draft form, and it, you can still make comments if you would like on it up until the last minute. But we're down to the line. We've had all these different public meetings and things like that already for people to make comments. So this is basically him telling you what he found. and the city council will decide whether the final report is something they agree with. So.
Thank you. Can we turn it over to our presenter?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Good evening, all. Commissioners, it's a real pleasure to meet you all online. My name is Jacob Leon, as Tom and Ron have mentioned. I represent KTUA. We're an urban planning and landscape architecture firm located down in San Diego. But we had the opportunity to work on projects all throughout Southern California. I've spent the last 8 years of my professional career working on transportation, urban greening, and parks projects. So I was just excited that our team had the opportunity to work with Los Alamitos on this active transportation plan. And so what I would have, like Ron and Tom had mentioned, I have an approximately 15-minute presentation that'll essentially walk you through all of the work that we've done to this date. And I'll present the findings, what essentially is the list of draft recommendations. And it's going to be an open discussion today. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on things related to walking, biking, transit use, and what the future of Los Alamitos really holds in regards to this topic right here. So again, thank you for having me tonight, and I'll go ahead and, Maria, I'll go ahead and share my screen for the presentation.
Go ahead.
Great. 1 second. Okay, thumbs up. Presentation is good to go. Perfect. Thank you, Tom. Okay, great. So for the presentation, we'll include an overview of what the Active Transportation Plan is. I will present a summary on the community engagement that took place over the last 9 months. I'll go over bicycle-related recommendations, pedestrian recommendations, as well as what we call the program recommendations. So these are the things that are not infrastructure related. And then the next steps essentially is, what's going to happen over the next 4 weeks and in the short-term future for the city of Los Alamitos. All of this was made possible through funding through SCAG. So the city of Los Alamitos applied for this opportunity to work on an active transportation plan. And it is the first active transportation plan that the city has worked on. So it's exciting for us and for you all to, within the next 4 to 5 weeks, have your first ever active transportation plan that's going to open up so many doors for future project grants and opportunities even with your neighboring cities. And so we kicked off this project in May, and it'll be closing in February. And the team consisted of the city, Southern California Association of Governments, who administered the grant, ourselves, KTUA, and our outreach partner, Latino Health Access, who are located over in the city of Santa Ana. For a quick overview for those who may not be completely aware of what exactly an active transportation plan is, but it essentially is about making improvements, so that it's safer and more reliable for people to walk, to bike, to take transit, and even those that are driving and using rideshare. Everybody benefits from improvements when it comes to active transportation plan. The ATP itself has several requirements that are mandated by the state of California. And so in this final report, it'll have the existing conditions analysis and a summary of all of the community engagement, and again, the infrastructure recommendations and the program recommendations. I want to begin with the existing conditions analysis. This is very, very important for all of these active transportation plans because this is the data-driven process to these plans. This is using readily available data that's available to us, your city and Orange County, to try to understand what is going on, throughout the city of Los Alamitos. So with the existing conditions analysis, we take that data, it's geographic information system data. We supplement that with field work. Myself and my team members, we went out several times to Los Alamitos to walk, to take pictures and to experience the streets and intersections throughout your city. So we have data such as existing bicycle projects that are on the ground or are being planned, your land use, reported collisions, as well as just a general understanding of your physical constraints and the physical opportunities around your streets. All of this information allowed us to create a map that is very important for the process. This is a needs assessment map, and us, nerdy consultants, we call it a propensity model, which I'll show to you in a few seconds. But what this propensity model map shows is it's about highlighting the areas within your city that will benefit the most from actual recommendations. So it crunches all of that data that I'll go over in just a few seconds. I'm going to show you a couple of examples of the maps that we've used. Understanding what's already on the ground is important so that we can build upon, bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. And so that's what this information in this map is showing, bicycle lanes that exist on Bloomfield, on Ball Road, as well as some other bike routes that are on Cerritos Avenue and, Walnut. It's absolutely important for me to understand where people are coming from, like where they live and where they're going to. So the schools, the parks, and honestly, all of your other destinations, what we call activity centers. So these are all like the commercial, the business locations, your community center, civic spaces, where are people going, so that we can then help understand and prioritize where recommendations would make most sense. Collisions is a very important element when it comes to us understanding safety without your city. So we're able to take data that is readily available from California Highway Patrol and the state of California, and we're able to analyze where are collisions occurring throughout your city. And this map makes it clear that Los Alamitos Boulevard and Catella Avenue experience the most collisions. And commissioners, we typically go about 5 years back. That's so we can kind of have a more updated, account of where collisions may be occurring. But we're able to sparse that data and see were they pedestrian collisions, were they bicyclist collisions, and where were they occurring. And so these intersections, these corridors are highlighted, as you can see here, in the yellow to orange colors. As I mentioned, there's so many more other maps that you'll see in our report, but all of that information gets crunched, and we produce this map right here, this needs assessment propensity model. What it's saying is wherever it's darker orange, the yellow to orange colors, means that we should pay more attention to these areas within the city, because that means that there's more people living here, there's more destinations, there were more collisions occurring, there may be a lack of bike facilities. So all of that, it's a very comprehensive map. And as you can see here, essentially everything along Los Alamitos Boulevard, Catella, and your neighborhood, that's bound around Green, Howard, Farquhar, because there's more apartments right there. That's all highlighted darker. And it all makes sense. We had conversations with Tom and Ron, and this coincides with everybody's understanding that these are the corridors and the areas that us, the consultant and everybody, we should pay closer attention to. So that was a short, summary of the data-driven processes and how it's always required to do community engagement when it comes to these types of master plans. In spite of the curveball that was thrown at us, right, because with COVID, I'm happy to say that our team came together and working with Tom and Ron, that we were able to still complete quite a bit of community engagement. A lot of it did rely on the technological, online side of things. But as you can see here, we had over 100 people complete the project survey. I hope, the commissioners online tonight had an opportunity to fill that out. We mailed out over 1,000 postcards that announced the project and let people know what the website to go to so they can get more information. We were able to host, as part of the Scope 3 community workshops that were all held via Zoom, and we had pretty good attendance, 15 to 25 people for each meeting, so I was happy with that. We had an interactive online map on the project survey, and we collected over 200 points and comments from that map. There were a couple of key individuals who took their time and really added comments on the map, and I really appreciated them taking all that. As part of the COVID response, we were able to work with LHA, and they were able to have a text messaging service for this plan. So we sent out text reminders about taking the survey, making sure they put a calendar hold for the next community workshop. So as you can see, over 8,000 messages were sent out, and this was phone numbers that were readily available from voter registration public databases. We had community advisory group for this project, and we met 4 times since May, and they provided invaluable information and feedback at major milestones for the project. Our team members, LHA, they went out to the park and 2 other locations in your city 2 times to encourage people to take the survey and to take actual general commentary. And lastly, over 300 flyers were distributed. We even had an opportunity to post flyers and nice-sized posters on their businesses. So again, I want to thank your community. They came out and they responded, stakeholders from within Orange County, and we got very good feedback throughout the planning process. Some quick highlights. These are the recurring comments that we keep hearing over and over. So intersections are a big deal when it comes to active transportation. So Cerritos, Los Alamitos, Oak, Florista, Walnut, Catella, the 605 freeway at Catella kept coming up. For pedestrian improvements, the improvements to safe routes to school, traffic signals and traffic light timing, signage and crosswalks were main highlights on the pedestrian side. For bicycle improvements, people want to see actual bike lanes and dedicated bike lanes throughout the city because that's what's safer and more reliable for them. Bike parking and bike parking at some of your shopping centers also came up, and I know Tom has been working on that over the past couple of years of adding bicycle parking at different shopping centers. Your corridors, so the big ones, no surprise here. Cerritos, Los Alamitos, Catella, Walnut, Bloomfield were priority corridors. And just transit access, your bus stops, what kind of partnerships do you have with OCTA and transit to make people more comfortable in using that? I'm gonna go over just some highlights on this survey. We asked how people get to work and school, and you can see the overwhelming majority are driving to work or school. But on the flip side, when we asked them how to get to the park, you see more even distribution. People are walking and biking to their parks as well as driving. So that's good to know that for us to make sure that wherever there are parks in the city of Los Alamitos, let's hope that we make some bicycle pedestrian improvements around those. Over a quarter of respondents said that they walk multiple times, that they bike multiple times a week in Los Alamitos. And the majority, over 70% of people said they do it for recreation. It's interesting to see that only 9% said that they do it for necessity. So walking and biking really is on the more health and recreation side of things within your community. Very different from, let's say, Santa Ana, which is a much higher percentage that say that they would walk or bike out of necessity. And lastly, where people say, well, would you like to see better pedestrian and bicycling routes to? Schools and parks were the top choices under this question right here. Things that make it easier for people to bike more in your community, bike lanes on the street was the #1 answer. And for walking throughout Los Alamitos, sidewalks and lighting and marked crosswalks were all along the top results there. So that brings us, we came to a point where we met with the advisory group with Tom and Ron and okay, let's go through all the data. Now let's figure out what kinds of recommendations we can do. So I will now go over the bike route recommendations. First and foremost, it's important not only for us and you as well to understand what I like to call the street's potential. We're all used to, especially in Southern California and some of our suburban communities, these auto-oriented streets that were built, over the past 20, 30, 40 years. Many times they're overbuilt in the sense that the travel lanes may be very wide. So with this graphic, I like to use this graphic for these presentations because it clearly illustrates that many times the roads are just wider than they need to be. Here in this example, we have 14-foot wide travel lanes. And through regulatory standards, you can go down to 11 feet. Parking lanes are sometimes wider than they need to be. Here in this example, I'm pointing out that a parking lane could have been over 8 feet, which 8 feet is typically the minimum. What does that mean? That means that by just restriping, I'm not saying we're not taking away travel lanes, we're not doing any of that, but just by simply restriping your street, you can go down to the minimums that are required. And now in this example, look at that, we're able to fit a buffered bicycle lane on the same street just because there was access, there was potential along there. This example occurs several times in the city of Los Alamitos. We also have the opposite where we're very constrained because of the things going on. But it does, this example right here helps illustrate some of the recommendations that made its way into the report itself. So I hope this 3D graphic kind of helps understand this process that my team and I had to go back and forth and trying to understand your streets. There are 4 major bicycle facility types. Many of these are found in your neighboring cities. You already have a couple of them. The first one, the multi-use path. This is your beautiful, nice, dedicated bike path. This is, you could say that, your Coyote Creek bike path is a class 1, and it is. Some cities, like the city of Brea in North Orange County, have the bike section, and they have the pedestrian nice, trail next to it. It depends. Some cities just do the asphalt part. But these are your Cadillac. These are your nice, dedicated facilities. Class 2 bike lanes. These are your striped bike lanes that you see all throughout Southern California. Some of them are enhanced with green painting, such as your neighbors over in Long Beach do. Some of them don't have the green painting. That's a case-by-case basis. Bottom left, your bike routes. These are your smaller residential streets that are where people are encouraged to ride on these because there's lower traffic volumes. It could connect you to maybe a nearby school or park. We have many examples of this in the plan for your city. Something that we don't have here for Los Alamitos, but is being used in many cities like Long Beach and Santa Monica and other parts of LA, are the separated bikeways. Essentially, it's an enhanced bicycle lane. The difference is that you have a physical buffer, whether it's a planter or concrete or reflective bollards. Many cities use different things. In our case, in Los Alamitos, we did not identify any of these class 4 separated bikeways. The colors are associated with the map I'm going to show you in a few seconds. So I wanted to introduce you in a visual format what these bike facilities look like. So after going through your community, the streets, we identified these 18 projects throughout the city of Los Alamitos. And we've assigned them a bicycle type, basically based on the physical constraints, what can we fit here? And so we will also prioritize them using a lot of that data-driven processes. And you'll see in your top 10 are those priority corridors. So there was generally pretty good alignment from what we heard with the community and the expectations that Tom and Ron may have had. But you'll see that Catella, Bloomfield, Cerritos, Los Alamitos, Howard, Green, Reagan, Farquhar, Ball, and Walnut were your top 10 projects, essentially, for this active transportation plan. This map is a pretty important map because this is, at this point, it's still draft, but this is the draft recommendations map. The colors are associated with the bike type, so the images that I just showed you a few seconds ago. But it starts to show your network. This map is a lot more filled in than the map that I showed you at the very beginning of the presentation. This is essentially a really exciting opportunity to actually have bicycle projects established within the city of Los Alamitos, because essentially there's only 3 or 4 within the city. So it was important for us, like I said, are we connecting schools? Are we connecting parks? What's going on with some of these shopping centers? Are there bike facilities nearby? Are we making people, not go out of their way so much? People don't like to be inconvenienced. So we did our best to kind of find routes that were uninterrupted. There are some exceptions to that, but generally speaking, I'll give just a couple examples for purposes of keeping this presentation a little bit shorter. Cerritos Avenue, based on the width on Cerritos, we could definitely have bike lanes. Even there's an opportunity to even have buffered bike lanes along Cerritos based on the conditions there. And Cerritos is an important street because of the high school that's there, the connections to Cypress, the connections to the Coyote Creek bikeway. So that was an important project. And in this case, it's actually your number 2 ranked project on this process. You have corridors such as Green Avenue. I wanted to specifically point out Green Avenue, commissioners, because this provides an uninterrupted parallel route to Catella Avenue, because we all know very well just exactly just how heavy and burdensome that the traffic volumes can be on Catella Avenue, especially as you approach that Catella Los Alamitos intersection. I'm sure you all have stories of just how, the congestion, and right now it might be better because of what we're dealing with COVID, but Tom was telling me, Jacob, you can't imagine just pre-COVID, just the amount of traffic and volume that happens there. I wouldn't want my kid trying to ride a bike, along that intersection. So that's why Green Avenue is an important corridor. But there are opportunities to make improvements along Los Alamitos Boulevard and Catella. It's this point right here, as you approach that intersection, and I'm being completely transparent and genuine with you commissioners tonight. There are challenges with this intersection just because of just the volume of traffic there. But we found workarounds Florista Avenue helps get around that. We have a partnership with Rossmore. If people travel down Walnut into Wallingsworth, they can get around that intersection and then continue on their journey on Green or Farquhar. So just again, I just wanted to point out a couple of examples, and we can go deeper into this during the Q&A after I finish. Some additional things that are included in active transportation master plan are the support features to a bicycle facility. So you have colored pavement. This is something your city can decide to do or not do, but many cities have been using the green pavement because it helps highlight the bicycle lanes on the street. So this has been very popular in San Diego and some of the other major cities in SoCal. Bike boxes on the top right. These are frequently used. It allows a cyclist to get in front of the vehicles in a safe space, whether they're continuing straight to the intersection or if they need to make a left. So this is used on streets that are maybe 2 or 3 travel lanes in each direction. Transition striping is very important. These are used at intersections or at driveways, busy driveways, whether it might be like the medical center on Los Alamitos Boulevard or another section. So this helps alert drivers and cyclists about potential, conflict there. And then signage is super important when it comes to these things. This helps pedestrians, it helps visitors, it helps anybody within the city. So when it comes to pedestrian and intersection recommendations, what we wanted to do with this is try to understand what at the intersection, how can a pedestrian environment be approved? So some of these things are fairly straightforward. High visibility crosswalks, as you can see here. These are the nice painted combination horizontal, parallel crosswalks that really help identify that this is a pedestrian crossing point. We have things that are called curb extensions or bulb outs. This helps pedestrians be more visible to drivers, and it also shortens the crossing distance. We have lighted crossing signals. You have a couple examples of this, such as I believe just north of Sausalito on Los Alamitos Boulevard. It helps people cross into the shopping centers. And also, when you work with your traffic commission and your traffic engineers, things like adjusting the signal timing. My team member and I, we're young, able-bodied people, and even then I felt like I needed to scurry when I was crossing Los Alamitos Boulevard in Catella. So, I was trying to place myself in the shoes of somebody in a wheelchair or crutches or a mother following with a stroller. So things like adjusting the timing to cross can go a long way as well. Within Los Alamitos, being a small, compact city, I had the opportunity to do something differently, and essentially is we identified all the different types of intersections you have within the city of Los Alamitos, and we were able to designate them and categorize them, and essentially provide Ron and Tom and their team basically a category of improvements that could go in these intersections. So the A through F are the different types of intersections that we as a team identified, and what that means, commissioners, is that in the report itself, your team, your city staff will have a menu of options of types of improvements that can be made at these intersections. So they're all outlined in the report, and this is just an example right here where an intersection such as this can have any number of potential improvements. And our team at K2A, we always try to use 3D graphics whenever possible because it's hard to sometimes understand something just on a map, right? These 3D images definitely help convey the message and the type of improvements there. So the report itself has several sheets of these that identify all of the types of intersections you have. And most importantly, and finally to wrap up my presentation, are the project cut sheets. This is the meat and potatoes of this active transportation plan. This is what's going to allow Tom to finally be able to pursue potential grant opportunities. And so he'll have a better idea for the cost of things, what kinds of things might be needed so that your city can remain competitive when those opportunities come up, especially from Sacramento or even from, at the federal level. All 18 projects will receive a project cut sheet. So we're not just picking the top 10. All 18 have been outlined and included in the report. And so what these cut sheets are going to do are provide the basic needed information and high-level recommendations to have an understanding of what needs to happen on that street. And so that, again, Tom has a better idea of how much it's going to cost, so he knows exactly how much to ask for when a grant opportunity comes up, or when you're sitting down to talk about, capital improvement project development. the slides, the cut sheets look like this. You know, they're a key map. We have infographics to explain what is along that corridor, project description, recommendations, and then using our high resolution photography, our team has pointed out all of the different types of recommendations that can take place along that corridor. Again, this is all in the report, and all 18 projects receive these types of project cut sheets. Lastly, the final chapter in the report is an important one because essentially it's an updated funding sources chapter for your city. Essentially, we provide guidance as to the types of funding sources, grants that are available at a local, regional, like OCTA, SCAG, state, and federal. And we can get creative. It doesn't always have to be just a specific bicycle pedestrian project. If it's an urban greening or stormwater management grant that's out there, there are things that there's overlap, and we provide that kind of guidance in our reports for you all. And at this point, that concludes my presentation. Again, I wanted to walk you through the process, what we did with you, your community, your stakeholders, and where we came to at this point. I'd like to turn it over, and again, it's about a general discussion. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or concerns you may have. If there's a specific street or intersection you wanted to share your feedback on, I'm more than happy to listen to. But like Tom said, this is all draft. We can still make changes up until we submit, even after the city council presentation. But we have approximately just a little over 4 weeks to get this dialed in. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask?
No.
I have one question. I saw the one that you talked about over there by Southland Bank, the striping in the street, the crosswalk. Do you know the one I'm referring to?
Was it one of these commissioners? One of these pictures?
No, this was
It's
the
a pedestrian crosswalk on Los Alamitos Boulevard. Yeah,
Oh, go back. We just had it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You see that one there with on that project? Are they using any kind of lights in the street as well to help bring out the fact that a pedestrian is crossing in a rapid street like that?
In this example that I'm showing here, the lighted section is actually in the sign itself. I don't know if you can see my mouse, Commissioner.
Okay.
But they
couldn't tell.
Yeah, these are what we call rectangular rapid flashing beacons. You have one of these examples. I believe it's on Los Alamitos Boulevard, just north of Sausalito. But you push the button and it flashes in the high bright LEDs, and it alerts the driver that a pedestrian is trying to cross. Commissioner, there are many examples. Some cities like to use the flashers that are in the ground. Tom, can you confirm, is it in the ground on Los Alamitos Boulevard, or is it the flashers up ahead on top?
It's the flashers up ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, we determined, the person who designed that felt that the ones in the street weren't as good as the ones that are in the sign that flash.
Okay, that's good to know.
Will the Traffic Commission be looking at some of these updates too, then?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Victor.
I know Tom brought this up in one of the earlier meetings, and I was wondering if it was part of the discussion, and that is to use the alleys that run parallel to Los Alamitos Boulevard to the west as bike routes. And was that examined and explored?
It was. Thank you for that question, Commissioner. That was examined and that was explored. At first glance, I did get a little bit excited at the idea of potentially using some of those alleys, but upon further exploration, it resulted in more challenges and safety issues with the use of alleys than those challenges outweighed the potential benefits. The fact that there are some blind spots, people backing in, backing out, the fact that a lot of the alleys are used by those commercials for loading and unloading certain things. We determined that at the end of the day, it was better to keep, potential bicycle riders on streets like Green that run parallel to Los Al, and even some of the streets that run parallel to Catella as well. Some cities, Commissioner, and their downtown urban cores, it's a different story. There's some great examples in downtown Denver and downtown LA where their alleys are activated, but very different environment, I would say, than what we have here in the city of Los Alamitos. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I just felt that there would be less chance for less vehicle traffic, and also be able to circumvent that Los Alamitos Catella intersection that was of concern, that you could transit across Catella away from the volume of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
But also had another question. One of your other slides, can you go to the bikeways, the ones that were color coded?
Yes. This one right here?
Yes, number 16. Is that the current maintenance road along the canal there behind Greenbrook? Tom?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and you planning on paving that like the riverbed?
During those meetings, we had quite a few people in that neighborhood come and speak to us about that they didn't want a bike trail behind their houses. And Jacob and his group found a clever way of getting around that situation. And I don't know if you want to explain that, Jacob. It's probably easier for you than me.
Sure, I'd be more than happy to.
Okay.
So yes, Commissioner, project number 16 it's ranked towards the bottom because it's a short segment, but nonetheless, we wanted to include it in this master plan as a future opportunity. But essentially, they were all very valid concerns that your community members shared at our last workshop. The fear and concern of having a bike path right up against, the backyards of those community members. And there were valid concerns because it's interesting the way the flood control district built that not Coyote Creek, Carbon Creek flood control channel, is that it's higher. So it sits above the actual homes that are right there. And so, yes, they were very valid concerns about that. But thankfully, this flood control channel, the service roads that are part of that, they have service roads on both sides of the flood control channel where the water runs. So we were able to identify that you can actually so let's start with the section closest to Los Alamitos Boulevard, which is north of the school. If you were to move forward with this project, in the future, what you can do is you can have the actual bike path on the south side, so it basically adjacent to the school property. And with the use of a prefabricated bridge, which are used many times on projects to cross creeks, riverbeds, or things like that, you can angle a prefabricated bridge onto the other side once you pass the homes. So essentially, let me zoom in on my side map right here that I have so I can get the correct name of that street. What that bridge essentially does, you've now jumped over and avoided all of the homes and all the concerns out there, and now you would be able to continue on your path eastbound into Cypress, or if you needed to get to Bloomfield, you could hop off right there. But that essentially, you avoid all of those single-family residential homes right there. And so, like Tom said, it was a clever way. That's outlined in the report itself. It comes down to if it's something that gets explored, that will need further investigation by engineers and planners like myself in the future. But for the meantime, it helps at least move the project forward in some manner.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. I appreciate the presentation. Thank you very much for all the work.
No problem. I was happy to meet and work with the community.
I bet Tom's appreciative for all his work he's going to be doing.
Exactly. Now I've got to write grants. Yeah.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
For like Green Street, which I'm very familiar with, if you had striping in there, how wide is the striping? And would it be on both sides of the street?
Great question. So Green Street is classified as a Class 3 bike route. So that the recommendation for that, Commissioner, isn't actually striping, what would be your 5-foot, bike lane. What we would be recommending what's called the bicycle sharrows. Those are like the chevron-shaped stencils that are placed on the ground. And so that's the recommendation. So we're not impeding on like the parking that's on the street. Those stamps will be placed on the ground to direct, basically the flow of a cyclist. And so that is what is used with these types of streets because they're smaller residential streets and
so that they can drive over those chevrons, correct?
Correct, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's the point?
The point
if you're riding your bike on Green Street, unless you're out in the middle of the street, I mean, most people will be to the right, depending on, whatever way they're going. And, you're still going to have to swerve around them. You're going to cross the center line. There's no center line, but you're going to cross it.
Correct.
Because the street's not wide enough to have, everybody in there at the same time. I mean, what's the point of having the chevron? I mean,
yeah, no, that's very good question. The point is that it's about alerting and signaling to a driver that this is a bike route, and it's to be expected that there will be cyclists on this designated bike route. It means that everybody should be a conscious, safe driver. You should be driving, your 25 miles per hour because it is a residential street, and that, at any point, whether people are coming in on some of the adjacent streets, that somebody might turn onto green to be on the route, whether it is, to shopping or to their homes. And so it's a low-cost way to just communicate that this is a designated bike route and that people should be friendly with each other. As a cyclist, you're expected to ride in the center of the street so that you're avoiding what we call the door zone. Nobody wants to be doored, by a distracted person that, opens their door to, head on home. So the stencils are strategically placed towards the center of the road to just help communicate all of those things.
And it's also a directional thing too for the bicyclists. They know this is a safer way to go rather than going down Catella, for instance.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can tell you I've rode my bike on every one of those type of directions, from Long Beach, Newport Beach, all over the place. So
Good.
It's definitely challenging. But
yeah,
the one that's interesting is where you go in front of the cars, they block the bike. And that one there is over there by PCH and I want to say 2nd Street, but I can't remember exactly, by the new town center in Long Beach.
Mm-hmm.
And cars don't even understand that you're in front of them because you can make that left safer by doing that than having them hit you.
Correct. Thank you for that, sharing that experience. And, the last comment I'll take away before I let you guys go is that in Southern California, it varies from city to city. Some cities have a long way to go in terms of culture shift, that paradigm shift and how, we eventually get to a point where everybody's a conscious walker, cyclist, driver, rideshare, everything. Our streets are, that's why I'm so passionate about this work. Our streets are such a vital thing when it comes to urban planning and your communities. But I'm hopeful, that, we have some good examples in some of your neighboring cities that change can come, whether it's short, mid, or long term. There's hope there. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we move on to item 10 for a staff report, please. Sorry, Tom, did you want something?
Oh, no, I was telling you goodbye.
Okay, now item 10 for a staff report, please.
What is item 10? Item 10 is items from the department. Is that right?
Yes.
Nomination and appointment of a member of the Planning Commission
For the
participate in the Town Center Mixed Use Survey.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right, so the city is going into, we contracted out with Placework to do a Town Center Mixed Use survey. And so it's to create a strategic plan. The work is funded through a grant that the city was awarded by the state of California and the Community Development Department. The intent of the grant works is planning for a design for this city's town center to enable developers with a short entitlement period for mixed use project. So again, we contracted out with Placeworks, and so Placework is requesting that to interview one planning commission to get their feedback on their thoughts on the town center mixed use. Now, all the planning commissioners will have an opportunity to voice their thoughts in a online survey but because of timing, we're just going to do the one-on-one interview with one planning commissioner. But again, all of the commissioners will be able to provide their comments and thoughts via an online survey. So basically, we're asking the commission to nominate and appoint the one planning commission to do the one-on-one interview. There is a map in there, a little graphic in there in your packet about the town center and where that is, just as a reminder. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, but the town center was identified during the general plan a few years back. And so, again, city staff would like the planning commission to nominate and appoint one member to participate in the interview. I believe the interview will be occurring in a few weeks, and it'll be the week of February 8th. And then we'll coordinate that time with you. Place work is very flexible. And so if you are working, they'll be willing to do it at night. Or of course, if you rather do it in a day, but like I said, they're very flexible.
Thank you. Do I have any of the commissioners that would like to volunteer? Nobody wants to volunteer? Commissioner Lowe, you would be interested? I appreciate that. So are we to take a roll call vote to appoint Commissioner Lowe?
Yes.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Chair Gross,
Aye.
Vice Chair DeBolt,
Aye.
Commissioner Andre,
Aye.
Commissioner Quilty. Oh. You're muted.
Aye, sorry.
Thank you. Commissioner Lowe.
Aye.
Commissioner Riley, absent. And Commissioner Suffolk-Cannon.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lowe.
Thank you. I will reach out via email to you probably next week. Okay, Commissioner Lowe.
Thank you. Do I have any items for 11 discussion? Item 11. Items from the Community Development Director.
I only have one, and I'm gonna kick it over to Tom. But I just wanted to give an update and to the commission, specifically Commissioner DeBolt, because he was the one appointed to the trash ad hoc committee. So, the plan here, after going out and revising some of the dates and everything. So right now, currently, I will be emailing you the current trash contract that we have with our current trash hauler, Republic Services, by the end of this week. Please review it, and then you could reach out if you have questions. Staff is willing to sit down with you one-on-one to answer any questions or to go over any specific items. And so then we'll get that feedback from you. And then right now, currently, staff, along with our city consultant, is working on a draft RFP. And hopefully we'll get a draft RFP done in 2 to 3 weeks. And at that time, we'll convene with each commissioner from the planning, the traffic, the Parks and Rec, and then our one council member to go over some feedback for the draft RFP. And then the consultant right now is working on dates to get some stakeholder meetings out there to get some community feedback. So those stakeholders meetings will be done in the month of February coming up. And Commissioner DeBolt, those are voluntary. You do not have to attend those if you do not want to. We highly encourage that you do attend those so you could provide feedback and also listen to resident feedback as well. But that is the plan right now. So again, I want to repeat that I will be emailing you the current trash contract by the end of this week. Please review it, and I'll reach out to you to see if you have any questions. And again, we are available to meet one-on-one if you wish to. Okay?
Yeah, no problem. Good.
Thank you.
Take it over to Tom.
Okay, and then next is you'll notice the hotel is almost done. It has, they think, 2 weeks of training their staff and setting up the hotel. Can you guys hear me? The
breaking up.
Yeah, it sounds like someone's talking over me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the hotel should be, they say, open in 2 weeks. That would be a miracle, but we'll see. They received our punch list from them, and they have a few things that they have to get accomplished, and then they have a special team that comes from Marriott headquarters to train the folks on how to be Marriott employees. And then you'll notice the Los Al luxury apartments is at the 3rd floor. It's moving along very quickly, but the framing is always the quickest part, and it'll take a very long time after that to do the rest, to do the finish work and all that. Also, Olson Company, they're building their final building right now. They have been moving very quickly, and I would suggest go over there and take a look at the apartments or the condos if you haven't looked at them yet. They're really neat inside. So there is a salesperson inside the very front unit. Just go in there and take a tour. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Commissioner reports? None. Before our next meeting, maybe you could bring back some of the past projects that have been kind of up in the air because of COVID. I know, like the hospital, they came to us and they wanted to do that. Could you just kind of give us an idea of where different projects are on that we've approved that haven't been either started or completed?
Yeah, actually, the hospital is moving along. They're getting their grading permits right now.
Yeah, I know it's been kind of challenging for this year with the COVID, or for last year, excuse me. Yes. But maybe if we just had kind of an update, that would be nice. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's confidence in me, and I thank you all for the support as usual. And just stay safe and healthy. I don't have anything else to say. And so I will adjourn tonight's meeting. And thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Night.
Bye.